My name is Sarah. I'm 34 years old. I have 2 kids and a mortgage. I drive a minivan. I shop at Target on weekends. I also cheated on my husband. That's not how I introduce myself to people. But it's the truth that keeps me awake at night. It's the secret that sits heavy in my chest every morning when I pour his coffee. It's the shame that follows me everywhere I go. 3 months ago, I was just another suburban mom. I worried about school lunches and soccer practice times. I complained about doing laundry. I felt invisible most days. Now I know what it feels like to shatter someone's world, including my own. This is my story. It's not pretty. It's not something I'm proud of. But maybe someone needs to hear it. Maybe someone else is sitting where I was sitting, making the choices I made, thinking the thoughts I thought. I was married to David for 8 years. Good years, mostly. We met in college. He was studying business. I was studying education. We were both 22 when we got engaged, 23 when we married. Everyone said we were perfect together. We had the same values, the same goals. We wanted kids. We wanted a house. We wanted stability. And we had it. For a while. David worked hard. He got promoted twice. We bought our dream house when I was 28. White fence, big backyard, room for the kids we planned to have. Our first son, Jake, was born when I was 29. Our second, Tommy, came 2 years later. Life was busy, chaotic, but good. Or so I thought. The problems started small. David worked late more often. I stayed home with the boys. We were tired all the time. We barely talked except about schedules and bills. How was your day? Became our only conversation. Fine, we'd both answer. Every single time. The spark we once had began to dim. Date nights stopped. Intimate moments became rare. We were roommates raising children together. Not lovers. Not even friends, really. I told myself this was normal. This was marriage. This was what happened when you had kids and a mortgage and responsibilities. But deep down, I was lonely. Desperately, achingly lonely. I started working part-time when Tommy turned 3, just 2 days a week at a local marketing firm. I needed adult conversation. I needed to feel useful again. That's where I met him. His name was Marcus. He was 36, divorced, no kids. He worked in graphic design. Marcus was everything David wasn't. Spontaneous, funny. He noticed things, little things, like when I wore a new shirt, or when I changed my hair. You look tired today, he said one Tuesday morning. Rough night with the kids? Such a simple question. But David hadn't asked me how I was feeling in months. Marcus and I started talking during coffee breaks. Just friendly conversation at first. About work. About movies. About books. He was easy to talk to. He listened. Really listened. Not the distracted half-listening I got at home while David checked his phone. Your husband is lucky, Marcus said one day. We were sitting in the break room. I was eating a sad desk salad. Why? I asked. You're smart, funny, beautiful. If I had someone like you at home, I'd never let her feel unappreciated. My face got hot. No one had called me beautiful in years. I should have walked away then. Should have kept things professional. Should have remembered my wedding ring and my children and my vows. Instead, I smiled. Thank you, I said. That means a lot. That was the beginning. Looking back, I can see it so clearly now. That was the moment I made my first real choice. The choice to let his words matter more than they should have. We started texting. Nothing inappropriate at first. Just work stuff. Then casual conversation. Then personal things. David's working late again. I texted one evening while giving the boys their bath. "I'm sorry," Marcus replied. "You deserve better than that." Those words hit me like a drug. Someone saw my worth. Someone noticed my sacrifice. Someone cared that I was alone again. The texts became more frequent, more personal, more intimate. "I can't stop thinking about our conversation today," he wrote. "Me too," I replied. And I meant it. We started meeting for lunch. Just as friends, I told myself. Just two co-workers grabbing food together. But I put on makeup for those lunches. I wore my nicest clothes. I felt alive again. David didn't notice. Or if he did, he didn't say anything. "You seem happy lately," my sister mentioned during a phone call.
"Do I?"
I asked. But I knew she was right. I was happy. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. The guilt was there, sitting in my stomach like a stone. But the happiness was stronger. The attention was addictive. Marcus made me feel seen, wanted, valuable. David made me feel like furniture. The emotional affair continued for 2 months. We texted constantly, met for lunch twice a week, talked about everything except what we were really doing. Because we both knew what we were doing. I was falling for another man, and he was falling for me. "This is wrong," I said to him one afternoon. We were sitting in his car in a parking lot. It was raining. "I know," he said, "but it doesn't feel wrong." He was right. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. Talking to him, being with him, wanting him. But at home, the guilt was eating me alive. I snapped at David more often. Everything he did annoyed me. The way he chewed his food. The way he left dishes in the sink. The way he fell asleep watching TV every night. "What's wrong with you lately?" he asked one evening after I'd been particularly harsh about his work schedule. "Nothing," I lied. "I'm just tired. Always tired." That was my excuse for everything. The truth was, I was comparing everything David did to what Marcus might do. And David always came up short. Marcus would have noticed my new haircut. Marcus would have asked about my day. Marcus would have made time for me. I was living 2 different lives. My real life with David and the boys. And my fantasy life with Marcus. The fantasy was winning. "I need to see you," Marcus texted one Thursday evening. "Really see you. Not just these lunch dates." My heart pounded as I read his message. I knew what he meant. I knew what he was asking. "I can't," I typed back. "Why not?" "Because I'm married. Because I have children. Because this would destroy everything." But I didn't write any of that. Instead, I wrote, "When?" We planned to meet that Saturday afternoon. David was playing golf with his buddies. The boys were at my mother's house. I had 3 hours. 3 hours to cross a line I could never uncross. I spent an hour getting ready. I hadn't spent that much time on my appearance in years. I wanted to look perfect for him. The guilt was suffocating, but the excitement was stronger. I drove to his apartment building, sat in my car for 10 minutes. My hands were shaking. I could still turn around. I could still go home. I could still save my marriage. But I didn't. I walked up to his door, knocked 3 times. He opened it immediately, like he'd been waiting by the window. "Hi," he said softly. Hi, I whispered back. We looked at each other for a long moment, both knowing what was about to happen, both knowing it would change everything. Are you sure about this? He asked. No. I wasn't sure about anything anymore. My whole world felt upside down. But I nodded anyway. What happened next was both everything I'd dreamed of and nothing like I'd imagined. Marcus was gentle, attentive. He made me feel beautiful and desired in ways I'd forgotten were possible. For 2 hours, I felt alive. Really, truly alive. But when it was over, the weight of what I'd done crashed down on me like a building. I had cheated on my husband. I had broken my marriage vows. I had become someone I never thought I could be. Are you okay? Marcus asked. We were lying in his bed. The afternoon sun was coming through his blinds. I don't know, I answered honestly. I wasn't okay. I would never be okay again. I got dressed quickly, avoided eye contact. My hands were still shaking, but now it was from panic, not excitement. Sarah, Marcus said as I headed for the door. This doesn't have to be complicated. We can figure this out. But it was already complicated. It had been complicated from the first text message. I drove home in silence. The radio felt too loud. My thoughts were too loud. Everything was too loud. David was already back from golf when I got home. He was in the kitchen, making a sandwich. How was your afternoon? He asked without looking up. Fine, I said. The lie tasted bitter in my mouth. He nodded and took a bite of his sandwich, still not looking at me. If he had looked at me, would he have seen it? Would he have known immediately that his wife had just been with another man? But he didn't look. He never really looked anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to David, listening to him breathe, watching the ceiling, thinking about what I'd done. I had crossed a line. There was no going back. The next few weeks were torture. I couldn't eat, couldn't concentrate. The guilt was eating me alive. Marcus texted constantly. He wanted to see me again. He wanted to talk about our future together. But I couldn't think about the future. I could barely think about the present. At home, David started noticing something was wrong. You've been quiet lately, he said one evening. Everything okay? Just work stress, I lied again. But David wasn't stupid. He'd been married to me for 8 years. He knew when something was different. He started paying more attention, asking more questions, coming home earlier from work. The irony wasn't lost on me. Now that I'd cheated, my husband was finally trying to be present, finally trying to connect. But it was too late. The damage was done. I had already betrayed him in the worst possible way. 2 weeks after that afternoon with Marcus, David found our text messages. He'd borrowed my phone to make a call. His battery was dead. Such a normal, everyday thing. But my phone buzzed while he had it. A text from Marcus. I can't stop thinking about Saturday. When can we do it again? David read it. I watched his face change. Watched the confusion turn to understanding. Watched the understanding turn to pain. Who is Marcus? He asked quietly. My world collapsed. Who is Marcus? David asked again. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The moment I'd been dreading for weeks was finally here. Sarah. Who is Marcus? He's someone from work, I whispered. David scrolled through our text history. Months of messages. Flirting. Planning. Evidence of everything I'd done. His face went white. He sat down heavily on our kitchen counter. How long? He asked.
David, How long, Sarah?
2 months. 3 months.
I don't know.
I was crying now. Ugly, desperate tears. He was quiet for a long time, just sitting there, holding my phone, reading the evidence of my betrayal. Did you sleep with him? He asked finally. I could have lied. One more lie in a web of lies. But I was tired of lying, tired of carrying this secret. Yes, I whispered. The sound he made was like a wounded animal. It came from deep in his chest. Pure pain given voice. He set my phone down very carefully, looked at me for a long moment, like he was seeing me for the first time, or maybe for the last time. Then he walked out. I heard his car start, heard him drive away, and I collapsed on our kitchen floor. The boys were at school. The house was empty, and I was completely, utterly alone. David didn't come home that night, or the next night. He was staying at his brother's house, he texted me. He needed time to think. I called in sick to work. I couldn't face Marcus, couldn't face anyone. For 3 days, I barely left my bedroom. My sister came to help with the boys. She didn't ask questions, but I could see the worry in her eyes. On the 4th day, David came home. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were red. His clothes were wrinkled. We need to talk, he said. We sat in our living room, the same room where we'd planned our wedding, where we'd brought our babies home from the hospital, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays and ordinary Tuesday evenings. Now it felt like a courtroom. I don't understand, David said. I thought we were happy. I thought we were okay. We weren't okay, I said quietly. We haven't been okay for a long time. So you cheated? His voice cracked. Instead of talking to me, you cheated? I tried to talk to you. You were never here. Never present. Even when you were home, you weren't really here. That's not an excuse, Sarah. That doesn't make this okay. He was right. It wasn't an excuse. Nothing could excuse what I'd done. I know, I said. I know it doesn't make it okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you in love with him? The question I'd been asking myself for weeks. I don't know, I answered honestly. I thought I was. Maybe I was in love with how he made me feel. And how did he make you feel? Seen. Wanted. Important. David flinched like I'd slapped him. And I didn't make you feel those things? Not for a long time, no. We sat in silence, the weight of 8 years hanging between us. Do you want to save this? David asked finally. Our marriage. Do you want to try? Did I? 3 months ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. Now, I wasn't sure about anything anymore. Do you? I asked. I don't know. I love you. I've always loved you. But I don't know if I can get past this. I don't know if I can trust you again. I understand. I can't even look at you right now without seeing him, without thinking about what you did. His words cut deep. But they were fair. I deserved every one of them. We agreed to try counseling. For the boys, if nothing else. We needed to figure out how to coexist in the same house while we decided what came next. I quit my job immediately, cut off all contact with Marcus, deleted his number, blocked him on everything. He tried to reach me for weeks, through mutual friends, through social media. He didn't understand why I'd disappeared. But I couldn't explain it to him, couldn't make him understand that what we'd had was built on lies and loneliness and the destruction of my family. Counseling was brutal. Week after week of painful conversations, of facing what I'd done, of watching David's pain, of trying to figure out if we could ever find our way back to each other. Some sessions, we made progress. We talked about the problems in our marriage that had existed long before Marcus. The distance, the lack of communication, the way we'd stopped prioritizing each other. Other sessions, we went backward. David's anger would flare. My guilt would overwhelm me. We'd leave more broken than when we'd arrived. But we kept going. Week after week. Month after month. Slowly, painfully, we started to heal. David made an effort to be more present, to ask about my day, to notice when I was struggling. I made an effort to be honest about my feelings, about my needs, about the choices that had led me to another man's bed. It took 6 months of counseling before David could touch me without flinching. 8 months before we could have a normal conversation without the affair lurking in the background. A year before he said he loved me again. And even now, 18 months later, we're still working on it. Still rebuilding trust one day at a time. The hardest part about cheating isn't the act itself. It's living with the aftermath. It's waking up every single day knowing you've permanently altered the foundation of your life. It's seeing the consequences of your choices play out in slow motion, hurting everyone you love most. The affair lasted 3 months. The recovery has lasted much longer and may never truly end. People think cheating is about sex, about physical attraction, about being swept away by passion. Sometimes that's true. But for me, it was about feeling invisible in my own life. It was about being so lonely in my marriage that another person's attention felt like water in a desert. It was about losing myself so completely in motherhood and routine that I forgot I was still a woman with needs and desires and dreams. When Marcus saw me, really saw me, it felt like coming back to life after being dead for years. But that feeling was an illusion. A dangerous, destructive illusion. Because real life isn't about being seen by someone new. It's about building something lasting with the person you've chosen. It's about working through the hard times instead of running away to someone else's arms. It's about having difficult conversations instead of seeking easy validation elsewhere. I know that now. I didn't know it then. The guilt is suffocating. It sits in your chest like a weight that never lifts. Every time David smiles at me, I remember what I did to him. Every time my children hug me, I think about how I risked destroying their family for my own selfish needs. Every time I look in the mirror, I see someone I don't recognize. Someone capable of betrayal. Someone who broke the most important promise she ever made. The shame is worse than the guilt. Guilt is about what you've done. Shame is about who you are. For months after David found out, I felt fundamentally broken. Like there was something wrong with me at my core. Like I was the kind of person who destroys good things. Like I didn't deserve forgiveness or love or second chances. The shame told me I was irredeemable. That David would be better off without me. That my children would be ashamed of me if they knew. Learning to live with yourself after cheating is learning to separate your actions from your identity. Yes, I cheated. Yes, I made terrible choices that hurt people I love. But I am not defined entirely by those choices. I am also a mother who loves her children fiercely. A wife who is fighting to save her marriage. A person who is capable of growth and change and making better decisions. The shame wanted to convince me otherwise. Recovery meant refusing to let it. David's pain has been the hardest thing to witness. The way his face changed when he read those text messages. The way he looked at me like I was a stranger. The way he slept on the couch for months because he couldn't bear to be in the same bed with me. The way he'd start to reach for me, then remember what I'd done and pull away. Watching someone you love suffer because of your choices is a special kind of torture. Knowing you're the reason for their pain. knowing they trusted you completely and you shattered that trust for someone who didn't even know their middle name. The practical aspects of recovery are exhausting. Couples counseling every week, individual therapy, reading books about infidelity and marriage and rebuilding trust, having the same painful conversations over and over, answering the same questions, explaining your thought process, defending choices you can't even understand yourself anymore. Some days it felt like picking at a wound that would never heal. Like we were making it worse by constantly talking about it. But the alternative was pretending it never happened, and that wasn't an option. Trust is rebuilt in tiny increments. David checking my phone whenever he wanted. Me accounting for every hour of my day. Him asking detailed questions about my interactions with male colleagues. Me being completely transparent about everything, even things that seemed unimportant. It felt invasive and suffocating, but it was necessary. I had given up my right to privacy when I chose to betray his trust. These weren't punishments. They were the building blocks of a new foundation. The children know something happened. They're not old enough to understand what, but they sensed the tension. They heard the arguments. They noticed Daddy sleeping on the couch. They asked questions we couldn't answer honestly. That might be the cruelest part of all. That my choices created instability in their small worlds. That they had to witness their parents' pain without understanding why. That they might grow up thinking marriage is supposed to be full of whispered arguments and careful politeness. Forgiveness is not a moment. It's a process. David didn't wake up one day and decide to forgive me. He chose to forgive me a little bit each day. Sometimes he had to make that choice multiple times in a single day. When he'd remember a particular text message. When he'd see me put on makeup and wonder if it was for someone else. When he'd catch himself being happy with me and feel guilty about it. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's choosing love despite remembering. I had to learn to forgive myself too. That was almost harder than earning David's forgiveness. He could see my remorse. He could witness my commitment to change. I had to live inside my own head with the knowledge of what I'd done. I had to learn to believe that one terrible chapter didn't define my entire story. That people are capable of change. That love is stronger than mistakes. That redemption is possible, even for people who do unforgivable things. Our marriage now is different than it was before. In some ways, it's better. We talk more honestly. We pay attention to each other's needs. We don't take our connection for granted. We work harder at staying connected. But it's also fragile in ways it never was before. There's always an awareness that it could break again. That trust, once broken, is never quite as strong. That love, once betrayed, is never quite as innocent. Today, David and I are still married. Still working on our relationship every single day. Still raising our boys and paying our mortgage and living our ordinary suburban life. But we're different people now. Scarred but stronger. Broken but healing. Wiser but sadder. I wish I could say I regret everything about what happened. But that would be a lie. I regret the pain I caused. I regret the betrayal. I regret the months of lying and sneaking around. But I can't regret the wake-up call. The realization that our marriage was in trouble. The forced conversations about what we both needed. The commitment to rebuilding something better. I don't recommend infidelity as marriage therapy. The cost is too high. The damage too severe. But sometimes it takes a crisis to force change. Marcus reached out one more time, about a year after everything ended. A simple text, "I hope you're happy." I looked at that message for a long time before deleting it. Am I happy? It's complicated. I'm grateful. Grateful that David chose to fight for us. Grateful that we survived. Grateful that our boys still have their family intact. I'm proud of the work we've done, the honesty we've learned, the communication skills we've built. I'm hopeful about our future. We're planning a vacation this summer. Just the two of us. The first time we'll be alone together in over 2 years. But happy. I'm not sure I deserve to be happy yet. Maybe happiness isn't the goal. Maybe peace is enough. Maybe being grateful for second chances is enough. What I know for certain is this: I will never cheat again. Not because I'm not capable of it, but because I've seen the devastation it causes. I've lived through the aftermath. I've watched good people suffer because of my choices. I know now that marriage isn't about finding someone who makes you feel alive. It's about choosing to stay alive with the person you've already chosen. It's about doing the work even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when you feel invisible and unappreciated and lonely. It's about having the difficult conversations instead of seeking easy escapes. It's about fighting for your relationship instead of fighting against it. It's about building something together instead of looking for something better somewhere else. I know now that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just different grass. And it comes with its own problems and complications and regrets. I know now that real love isn't about butterflies and excitement and feeling seen. It's about commitment and choice and showing up day after day, year after year, even when you don't feel like it. I know now that I am capable of terrible things, but I'm also capable of growth and change and making amends. I'm capable of earning forgiveness and rebuilding trust and becoming a better person than I was before. That's what I want to leave you with. Not the story of my betrayal, but the story of what came after. The long, difficult, necessary work of repairing what I'd broken. If you've ever felt like me, you're not alone. If you've ever been so lonely in your marriage that another person's attention felt irresistible, you're not alone. If you've ever made choices that you can't take back, that hurt people you love, that changed everything, you're not alone. But before you make those choices, please try something else first. Have the difficult conversation with your spouse. Go to counseling. Fight for what you have before you look for something else. The grass isn't greener. The excitement isn't worth the destruction. The temporary high isn't worth the permanent damage. And if you've already made those choices, if you're living with the aftermath of your own betrayal, please know that redemption is possible. Forgiveness is possible. Rebuilding is possible. It's hard. It's painful. It takes time and work and commitment from everyone involved. But it's possible. You are not defined by your worst choices. You are not irredeemable. You are not doomed to repeat your mistakes forever. You can change. You can grow. You can become better than you were before. I know because I'm living proof. If you've been betrayed, if someone you love has shattered your trust, please know that healing is possible for you too. You don't have to forgive. You don't have to rebuild. You don't have to stay. But if you choose to try, if you choose to fight for what you had, know that it's possible to find something beautiful in the broken pieces. Your story isn't over. Neither is mine. We're all just trying to figure it out as we go. Making mistakes. Learning lessons. Hoping tomorrow will be better than today. And sometimes, if we're very lucky and we work very hard, it is.